My name is Georgia Button. I'm one of the 2023 ACE Studio artists, and I'm a moving image and installation artist from rural South Australia. I think, like a lot of artists, I've been making art from a very young age and loved all things in the visual arts realm from 2-3 years old. But I didn't seriously consider being an artist as an occupation until quite a bit later after high school. And really after I had already started different degrees at university and realised that I needed something very creative and very visual, and that perhaps I should just give this art thing a crack if it's the thing that I'm best at and worry about making it financially sustainable later. I tend to think of myself first and foremost as an artist that is interested in particular materials, and those materials tend to be moving image materials like cameras, televisions, projectors. And I tend to gravitate towards those materials because they're materials that are happening, they're not static. And the things that I am investigating in my practice are things that are happening in my life, or ideas around unfixed sensations. Most of my inspiration for my work comes from the experience of growing up in a distinctly rural environment on a farm in South Australia, where most of my family still live. I tend to approach my making by thinking of my ideas and my materials quite separately, and then as I get further into material investigation and material play, my ideas and my materials tend to collide. So I'm naturally drawn to materials that have some sort of sound or moving image element, and then I tend to use whatever idiosyncrasies I can find in the materials that I'm playing with. They tend to spark some sort of connection to the things that I'm naturally interested in investigating, which are ideas around memory, around rural memories, my own personal histories, and those experiences being away from a place that I had very formative experiences in, and a place that is so distinctly different from where I'm living and how I'm existing now. I'm always interested in the line between specificity in exploring my own family, my own personal histories, and my own experiences with loss and memory. But I'm always interested in the spectrum of specificity of your own experience and making something broad enough that other audiences can access it. So my favourite responses that I get to my work are when people from all walks of life look at my work and say, this reminds me of blah, 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 or I understand that feeling of X, Y, Z. My favourite experiences have been when people from completely different backgrounds say, oh, this thing that you've examined in your work and this sensation of repeated memories or fluctuation or restlessness or whatever really resonated with my experience in this aspect of my life. That's when I get most excited. And I'm particularly interested when non-visual art audiences engage with my work, because I think as visual artists, we're trained to have an appreciation for other people's artwork. So it's exciting when someone who's not from that world has some sort of heavy response to your work or engaged response. I find that particularly exciting. The ACE Studio plays a significant role in the practical development of my work, because I've never had a wall which is large enough to project and clear enough to project my work at in the editing phase. When you're editing a video file, it's really impractical to edit it on a laptop screen if you're going to be projecting that work at a very large scale, because you're not getting a true representation of how that imagery is going to be received. And it's been critical in the development of my work for this end of year exhibition, because it's allowed me to see my work in real time. Practically speaking, been a wonderful opportunity to develop my work. So I'm currently working on a video piece that's going to be featured in the Studio's 2023 exhibition at ACE. And this work is a culmination of the last 6 months intensively filming my last remaining grandparent and her home as a means to explore the idea of documentary and how film can act as a medium of preservation. So essentially, I've gone into my grandmother's home, which is where I'm most familiar with her, and I've filmed as much of her home space and around her house and as much of her as I possibly can. And I've edited it in a way that I'm hoping to evoke a sense of desperation to preserve someone. So this work features really fast-paced editing and quick cuts, and the visual component of this work is played over the top of the Australian rock song "Am I Ever Gonna See Your Face Again" by the Angels. However, I've edited the song to be extremely slow so that it's not immediately recognisable as that song. I've edited it to be so slow that it sounds like a kind of droning soundscape rather than anything that we would recognise as radio-friendly music.